If you want to be more efficient and effective while running your business with more inner peace, then working on the core of your issues instead of putting on a band-aid is vital. Welcome to the Business Brain Podcast.
I'm your host, Esty Rapport, and here to help you improve your 28 cognitive functions, the 28 things that make up thinking. In each episode, we'll discuss a real-life challenge, why you might be struggling with it, and give you practical strategies so all areas of your life will improve.
Chris found himself constantly getting distracted. No matter how many systems he put in place or what hacks he tried or notification to turn off, he was getting distracted. Even during sessions, he'd find himself getting pulled by his phone or getting distracted by something out his window. We wanted to get down to the bottom of it and understand what was really causing this to happen, because another hack was obviously not the solution. Chris needed self-awareness. And so with a simple and fun exercises, he really got to understand what was causing him to get distracted. If you're experiencing something similar, I'm here to tell you, you do not have to struggle forever. In this episode 453 of the Business Brain Podcast, I'm going to share with you the exact steps of what you can do to have your own transformation. But first, take a moment to leave a rating and review, because yes, it helps the podcast more than you know. Don't forget to screenshot it and send it to me at LifePix University so I can give you a shout out. While you are doing any task, you, without even realizing it, are using your 28 thinking skills. When the thinking skills you need to use are strong, doing the task happens easily. When the thinking skills you need to use are weak, doing the task is a challenge. The struggle that Chris had came from a weak thinking skill of understanding reality. Last week, in episode 452, we went deep into understanding reality and how it's related to cause and effect. Part of understanding reality is the self-awareness of what causes what. In today's episode, we're not going to do a repeat of this understanding reality. Instead, I'm going to share with you the exercise that helped Chris with this specific situation and getting the awareness of what was causing him to get distracted. For 3 days, Chris carried around with him an index card wherever he went. On one side of the index card, it said focused, and on the other side, it said distracted. Every time he'd find himself getting distracted, he'd make a tally mark on the distracted side. Every time he'd find himself wanting to get pulled away but still being able to stay focused, he gave himself a tally mark on the focus side. And by the end of the 3 days, if he had more tally marks on the focus side, he got a prize. Now, this solution helped with 3 things. Number 1, during the process of making the mark, Chris became aware of what points of the day or what sort of incidents were causing him to get distracted, and helped him become more self-aware. It helped him develop the thinking skill of understanding reality, specifically around these distractions. Second thing it helped with, by the end of the 3 days, Chris had a prize waiting for him if he had more focusing tally marks. While this is just a short-term strategy, it helped with reason number 3. Up until this point, Chris's brain has been wired to let distractions take over. By being conscious about it and turning it into a game, Chris allowed his brain to start making new neuron connections to help his brain stay focused. It's like the first time you take a walk in the forest and there's no path. It's a challenge to walk through because of all the dirt, rocks, roots, etc. But every time you walk down that path, you make it easier and easier and easier. Same with your brain. In the beginning, when you are doing something new, and when you are getting yourself to stay focused, even when the distractions are calling you, it's going to be a challenge because your brain is not used to it. There's no path, there's no neural connections that have been there already. There's a lot of dirt, there's a lot of roots, there's a lot of rocks getting in your way. The more you do it and the more that you train your brain to stay focused, even when distractions are calling you, the easier it will get. By making it fun and making it incentivizing with the tally marks and with the prize, it makes it easier during those initial days where it's super challenging. And just to throw in some behind the scenes, there was another client in the same Optimize Your ADHD Brain cohort who also wanted to understand what was causing him to get distracted. Yet with him, I gave a slightly different exercise. What I told the second client to do was for 3 days, every time he gets distracted, to write down what was happening at that time when he got distracted. At the end of 3 days, he had a long list and he can read through all of those mini events and find the patterns to understand what happened, to understand the reality of what causes him to get distracted. And in case you're curious, the pattern he discovered was that every time he transitions between tasks, he is way more likely to get distracted. With that understanding of reality, is able to come up with a solution that works for him. And here were two different people who both wanted to understand what was causing them to get distracted, who are in the same cohort, who got slightly different exercises, because I knew each of them would do better with a slightly different approach. That's one of my favorite things about these cohorts. They're small, so I can give you personal attention exactly for what you specifically need. So when you're listening to these two exercises, you pick what works best for you. Your challenge this week is to figure out what causes you to get distracted. For the next 3 days, you're going to do one of the two exercises. Either mark down on an index card every time you get distracted and every time you get focused, and by the end of the 3 days, give yourself a prize if you're able to stay focused more, or write down what is happening at the time that you're getting distracted and look at the pattern so you can create an action plan moving forward. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
That's all for this episode of the Business Brain Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please share it with 2 of your business friends so they too can gain from it, and you'll be helping us reach our goal of 1 million downloads by the end of 2025. Cheers to peak brain performance.